The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, released 20 years ago on November 21st, 1998. Set to be the first 3D Zelda game, there were high hopes for it to succeed. Many highly anticipated its release, and many weren't disappointed. Receiving a 99 on Metacritic, many have revered this game as the greatest game of all time. But what do I think of it? Well, let's find out in this review for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. The story has a basic premise. Darkness falls upon the land. A hero must rise up and slay the darkness. However, there is a lot more to the story than just that. Also, story spoilers for a 20-year-old game. The story starts out by showing us a dream. A drawbridge lowers near a young boy clad in green, and a white horse with an older lady and a young girl ride off in a hurry. The boy in green then looks ahead and sees a man in dark armor on top of a black stallion. The man in armor raises his hand up and... we don't see anything else. The dream ends. We are then shown that this young boy in green is asleep on top of a stump, if you will, or his bed. He is inside the Kokiri Woods, or Kokiri Forest, whichever you prefer to call it. The Great Deku Tree is telling Navi that this boy is having nightmares, that the darkness is spreading, and that it is time for the boy without a fairy to receive a fairy. You see, all Kokiri have fairies except for this one boy. So it's about time. Link then gets his fairy Navi, who he is wakened up by, actually. He is then told that the Great Deku Tree needs his help, and so he sets out on a small quest to go help the Deku Tree. In the Kokiri Forest, he meets Saria and Mito. Saria, who is a childhood friend of Link's, and Mito is the Kokiri bully, if you will. Saria plays a bit of a bigger role in the story, but we'll find out later on. For now, Link must gather the Kokiri Sword and the Deku Shield, both of which Mito implies that you need to have if you're going to be prepared to take on the Great Deku Tree. Which Mito then comments about how, yes, he doesn't have both of those things, but he brushes it aside because he is a bully and he does not like Link. So, just make his quest harder for him, I suppose. Anyways, Link proceeds onward and meets up with the Great Deku Tree. The Great Deku Tree lets Link know that there is a darkness that has befallen him being the Great Deku Tree. He has fallen ill, and Link must go inside to stop the illness, the evil that is inside the Great Deku Tree. And so, with great courage and wisdom, Link with Navi heads inside the Great Deku Tree to purge the evil. Throughout the dungeon, Link encounters spiders, baby spiders, and all sorts of other enemies. Finally leading up to Queen Goma, the parasitic insect. Taking down Queen Goma was not much of a task. It was really more intimidating than anything. But with a few shots from his slingshot and a few strikes from his sword, Queen Goma goes down. Link is then transported outside of the Great Deku Tree, only to learn that even though he had beat back the darkness, the Great Deku Tree was going to die anyway. In his last dying breath, or breaths if you will, since the Great Deku Tree tells us quite a story involving the creation of Hyrule, and the fact that a man from the desert is seeking the sacred stones in order to get access to the sacred realm. He gives Link the Kokiri Emerald, one of 3 stones needed to open up the Gate of Time. Well, the Door of Time, whatever you will. It grants access to the sacred realm where the Triforce is. So it is pretty important. And Ganondorf was coming after it. That's the whole reason why there was a giant spider inside the Great Deku Tree. He had planned on getting it for himself, but Link intervened just in time. Link is told to go meet the Princess of Destiny, Princess Zelda. So Link and Navi set out on a more grand quest. But before they can get outside to Hyrule Field, they meet up with Saria one more time. Saria gives Link the Fairy Ocarina. It's a very useful tool, and also is one of nostalgia. But this ocarina is one of two that Link will obtain in his quest. Ocarinas, being like flutes, can play a bunch of songs that are magical. But once he receives the ocarina, he then presses onward, not looking back, forgetting his childhood friend and the race that he grew up with. Link heads into Hyrule Field, only to meet up with Kaepora Gaebora, a giant owl, who, throughout the game, a lot of players will end up mashing the B button to skip his dialogue. But there is a lot of wisdom that the owl imparts upon Link, informing Link that there is a great destiny that is ahead of Link and that he must conquer it, otherwise the land is doomed. And Link will meet up with Kaepora Gaebora quite a few times throughout his journey, so don't worry. You won't see the owl just once, you'll see him quite a few times. So Link heads to Hyrule Castle Town, the market. There's a street, pretty much, bustling with people, very lively, many stores, and in front of him a temple, kind of off to the side, which quite mystic in its appearance, kind of mysterious. But Link heads to a different portion, the Hyrule Castle itself. He sneaks inside Hyrule Castle, averts the guard's eyes, and meets with the Princess of Destiny, Princess Zelda. Zelda is surprised that someone could get past the guards and get to her so easily. It is kind of funny how easily you can actually do this in the game. You'd think they'd have more guards that could do better, but apparently not. Help is hard to find in those days. So Zelda tells Link, "Hey, what's your name?" Yes, she tells him this. It's a very confusing statement. And she learns his name is Link, which sounds very familiar to her for some reason, but she can't quite place it. But anyways, for her, she's thinking, oh well, I might as well tell this young child a story that is passed down through the royal family. She tells him about the Triforce, about how it's hidden behind, well, the Door of Time, in a sense. It's in the Sacred Realm. Yes, this is something that's already been covered before, but she goes into more detail about it. And she tells Link that there's a man in this fairy castle who seems pretty evil, and he shouldn't get his hands on the Triforce. Well, that man is, of course, Ganondorf. Now, chronologically, Ganondorf's appearance, his first time appearance, is in this game. There is no such thing as Ganon yet. So, this is all very new for everyone. He may seem evil, but there is nothing set in stone that he is indeed dark or evil. He just kind of gives that aura or vibe off, I suppose. But Zelda tells Link to look through the window here. Take a look at him. See who your enemy is. Well, when he does that, Ganondorf looks to his right and catches Link's eyes, and Link just stops looking, and Zelda is like, oh, did he see you? And she kind of brushes it off. It's not really a big deal, claiming that he has no idea what they're planning, which chances are Ganondorf does have a very good idea of what's going to go on. But anyways, with all that being said, Link is given a letter by Princess Zelda. this will grant him access to Death Mountain, which is the next place he must go for the next spiritual stone, the second of 3. But on his way out, he meets with a mysterious woman, a Sheikah, named Impa. Impa teaches Link Zelda's Lullaby, which is used by the Royal Messenger. Basically think of that as a key to doors or such, or a way to prove one's alliance or allegiance with the royal family. It's kind of like a skeleton key for people's conversations. Very weird way to put it, but that's what it is. And Sheikah Impa, yes, I'm calling her by her race and then her name. Sheikah Impa takes Link out of the castle, kind of a secret way to make sure he doesn't get alerted by the guards, and tells him to go to Kakariko Village, where Death Mountain is located nearby. Which Kakariko Village is a village built by the Sheikah themselves, and it is headed by Impa herself. So it's a pretty good place for Link to go, very safe. So he goes to Kakariko Village, and he meets this guard along the way, who is blocking Death Mountain's entrance. So Link gives him the letter, and the guard's kind of suspicious, because the way the letter is worded, it's like, oh, let him through, he's a hero that will save this land, so you must let him through. And it's written by Princess Zelda and signed by her, and they're both kids, so the guard just kind of laughs it off like, oh, the little princess is playing games again. But, who is he to say no to the princess's orders? So, whether it's against his judgment or not, he opens the gate and allows Link to pass on through. Link ascends Death Mountain, avoiding these Gorons, special creatures that roll around and eat rocks. Yes, very strange, I know, but they're pretty fun. Ascending Death Mountain, he goes into Goron City, where, well, as you guessed it, it's a city of Gorons. It's really just the Gorons' home. There he must meet Darunia, the Goron chieftain. Playing Zelda's Lullaby, he talks to Darunia, and he learns that Darunia is not going to tell him anything, aside from the fact that the Gorons are kind of having a problem, and he doesn't want to deal with it, and he's not going to talk to him about it anymore. So, looks like Darunia is kind of a lost cause. But Navi, yeah, she's been here the whole time. She's like, hey, why don't you go see what Saria is up to? So Link heads back to Kokiri Woods, and heads to the Lost Woods, which is a portion of Kokiri Woods itself, and as the name implies, you could easily get lost in it. Heading through Lost Woods, expertly navigating its tunnels, and going through a maze-like portion in the Sacred Grove, or whatever it's called in that time. I guess it is the Sacred Grove, isn't it? It's very sacred. There are spirits everywhere, and it's fun. It's fine. He meets with Saria, who teaches Link Saria's song, which is the key to getting Darunia to talk. And Saria mentions how this place, referring to not just Kokiri Woods, but the Sacred Grove itself, will be a very special place for both of them. Very important. And at the time, I would suppose Link's like, yeah, okay, but he doesn't really have any idea why Saria would say that. And neither does a player in this case either. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But anyways, Link gets to move on back to Death Mountain, back to Goron City, and back to Darunia. Link plays Saria's song to Darunia. Darunia starts dancing like a madman. Apparently, he really, really loves that tune. So much so, he can't help but dance. Which I just mentioned. But it's gotta be made known. Darunia loves dancing, and he loves that song. So it's like, yeah, he's gonna do it anyway. Darunia, after he's done dancing for 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, however long it actually happens for. I'd like to imagine that Darunia spent like 2 hours dancing. He just couldn't stop, and Link's like, I'd like to get a move on with my quest. It's kind of important. And Darunia's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. But that's probably not how it happened. It doesn't matter, though. So Darunia is like, oh, wow, that put me in a good mood. Here, let me give you something. So, Darunia gives Link a Goron bracelet, which allows him to lift things that are heavier than Link could previously carry. Yeah, I mean, the item description is kind of boring, but it's very important and it's kind of a cool little thing. Darunia's like, I'm not really, this isn't really in return for anything, just you can have it. But he does mention how, the Goron Ruby that Link was looking for isn't actually in Goron City. It's hidden away. For a good reason. Darunia hid it away because Ganondorf threatened to steal it from them, and Darunia wasn't having any of that. But unfortunately, Ganondorf threw a huge boulder in front of Dodongo's cavern, and also he put Dodongos in Dodongo's cavern, which were previously extinct, I might add. So all this development kind of left the Gorons in a pinch, since they rely on rocks and Dodongo's cavern has rocks that they can eat, which, here's a common misconception. People think that just because Gorons eat rocks, they're like, well, why couldn't the Gorons eat their way through Dodongo's cavern's boulder? Well, if they could, the boulder wouldn't be there. Obviously, the boulder that was placed there is not edible to them. It's even confirmed in other media that Gorons can't even eat diamonds or rubies or sapphires. They don't taste good to them. They're not really edible. So, all that tying back to Ocarina of Time, Darunia is relying upon Link to get, if he wants the Goron's ruby, he's got to earn it, pretty much. So, Link treks his way through Dodongo's cavern, and how he got there? He threw a bomb in front of the boulder, and it blew up. Yeah, that was all it needed. It's like, yeah, why couldn't Gorons do that? I don't know. There's also Dodongos, which apparently Gorons have some sort of weakness to. It's not really specified, but Dodongos are kind of like a mortal enemy to the Gorons. But that's why. So even if they did open the boulder, they knew better than that to trek inside Dodongo's cavern. But Link, however, isn't a Goron, so he's fine. He's just a 10-year-old child with a butter knife and a wooden shield. And a Hylian shield, actually. So, yeah, he's prepared, but it's kind of outrageous because Dodongos can breathe fire, and the whole Dodongo's cavern is filled with fire and lava. So, yeah, it's totally fun, and I'm sure Link can handle it. But he does! Expertly navigating Dodongo's cavern, blowing up Dodongos themselves, and facing the mighty King Dodongo, who was long thought extinct, brought back by Ganondorf, I might add. He earns the Goron's ruby from Darunia, and Darunia makes him pretty much a brother. He makes him like a Goron. It's just like, yeah, you're now like one of us. And in Gorons, in their society and system, being a brother is more than just like, oh yeah, we're friends. It's more like, we're like blood now. You mean this much. You are, a great friend to us, a great ally. It kind of transcends what like a normal friend is, I guess. So yes, Link is now an honorific Goron, which is pretty cool. And he's also known as the Dodongo Buster, which is kind of cool. I like the name a lot. So, having received the Goron's ruby, he makes his way for, well, the Zora's Fountain. He learns he needs to go there from Navi, who, for all intents and purposes, Navi is like, well, a navigational guide. Part of her name is Navi, so it's part of navigational, so you get the idea. It's a fun little pun. So Navi's like, hey, maybe we should head to, the Zora's Fountain and see what's going on there. And, in fact, Link learns that the Zoras themselves are also facing a dilemma. Princess Ruto has been swallowed by Jabu Jabu, their guardian deity. Yeah, what a plot point. It is kind of strange, like, why? But we don't learn this from them necessarily. We kind of get the idea that something's going wrong, but through a letter in a bottle that Link must retrieve, we learn that she has in fact been swallowed. So, yeah, fun. So Link tells King Zor about this, and King Zor is like, "Oh no, save my daughter," and something, all that good stuff. So King Zor moves out of the way, and it only takes like 38 seconds. Okay, I'm not going to pause for 38 seconds, but it's just 38 long seconds of waiting. But in any case, Link walks up to Lord Jabu Jabu, and he ain't looking so good. He's looking all green around the gills, which, of course, this is thanks to Ganondorf. Much like the Great Deku Tree, there's also a type of parasite inside Lord Jabu Jabu, and I don't understand what the deal is, but man, Ganondorf loves parasites, let me tell you. So anyways, Link finds a way to get inside Lord Jabu Jabu by laying down a fish in front of him, and when Jabu Jabu opens his mouth, it's kind of like Kirby, where he inhales and everything just flies right into his mouth. So Link is flowing into the insides of Lord Jabu Jabu. It's very disturbing. It's about as disgusting as you think it would be, being inside of a giant fish. Yeah. It even makes like these pulsating sounds. Very, very disgusting. But Link stomachs his way through it. Get it? Stomachs, because he's okay. So Link finds Princess Ruto just standing around. She's like, "Oh, I didn't ask for any help. Why are you here?" But she has a crush on Link, and she has a hard time saying it. She's thankful that he's there. But she's kind of a stuck-up snob at first. So liking her as a character is kind of tough. I mean, she is very defined. But, yeah, a total snob at first. And there have been plenty of times where I wish I could just throw her into the walls. I mean, you can, but it doesn't do anything. Anyways, Link, carrying Princess Ruto on top of his head, kind of finds the Zora Sapphire on top of this pedestal. And she tells him to throw her up there so she can get it. So Link does, and the platform rises, and it was a trap, basically. Basically, it was a trap. And when the platform comes down, there's a giant Octorok instead. So Princess Ruto has now been like completely taken away from Link, as well as the Zora Sapphire with her, and replaced with a giant Octorok, which Link must then kill in order to proceed. So he kills the giant Octorok, proceeds up the giant platform, and well, for the rest of the belly, I guess, or insides, Princess Ruto is gone, having been swallowed up further. Basically, his quest from there on is to find her and the Zora Sapphire, which leads him to the parasitic anemone, I believe it's called? Baronade, which is no electric anemone. Anyways, I can't remember what it's called. Bioelectric, maybe? In any case, the giant thing is an electrocuting lightning rod, I guess, in the best way to put it, with a giant brain body? I just realized my descriptions for these are very strange, because describing Baronade, not so easy. It's better just look it up. It just looks funny, trust me. So, Link, shockingly deals with Baronade. I don't know why I threw shockingly in there, I guess for a pun, but I don't think it came out funny. But you can laugh if you want to. There's time to laugh in this review. It ain't gonna be as, by the book, by the numbers as the Breath of the Wild one, if you can't already tell from, like, 23 minutes into this review. So yes, tangents arise. But Link defeats Baronade, and Princess Ruto is saved. And Princess Ruto gives him the Zora Sapphire. But in Zora culture, when the female gives a Zora Sapphire to someone, that means they're engaged. Yeah, so Link is engaged to Princess Ruto. I'm sure that won't backfire along the way. But who cares? He has all 3 spiritual stones. Hyrule is saved. The world can rejoice. Ganondorf no longer has control over the realm. He can't get the 3 stones now. Or so it would seem. Link heads back to Hyrule Castle to tell Zelda about the news. But as he gets closer to Hyrule Castle, or rather to Castle Town, the skies get dark. And the drawbridge lowers. The boy clad in green sees a white stallion, a white horse, leave with an older lady and a young girl, those being Sheikah Impa and Princess Zelda. Princess Zelda throws an ocarina into the water. Wonder what that's about. In any case, Link looks forward and sees a man in black armor on a dark Gerudo stallion. Wait, this sounds familiar. It's the dream. The dream came true. Well, the nightmare, really. Prophetic. But in any case, Ganondorf proclaims, where'd they go? Meaning, Zelda and Impa. He was wondering where they went, and he was chasing them. And he sees Link. And Link pulls out his sword, and Ganondorf is pretty much saying, oh, you can't beat me as you are, but you have spunk, so I guess I'll let you live, after he shoots a ball of power at Link. I don't know what to call anything else, maybe a ball of magic. So he shoots this at Link, and Link falls over, but he's not dead. It's just kind of a warning shot. So Ganondorf rides off looking for Impa and Zelda, but Link has other things to attend to. He goes into the water and gets the Ocarina of Time. As soon as he picks it up, memories of Princess... Well, not memories, really. Kind of like a pre-installed message, I guess is the best way I can put it. Comes to Link. And it's Zelda saying, hey, if you're getting this Ocarina, it means that something bad's happened. You need to go to the Temple of Time, play the Song of Time you're about to learn, place the 3 emblems in the pedestal, the 3 emblems here being the 3 spiritual stones, and yeah, the door of time will open, and yeah. So, with all that information, Link heads to the Temple of Time, which is that mysterious temple inside Castle Town, I might add. The one that was noticed, but not really anything happened with it. So he goes there, he walks inside, and he plays the Song of Time in front of this pedestal, where the 3 spiritual stones leave Link and are placed in their own little spots. After this happens, the door of time opens, leading to the pedestal of time, which houses the Master Sword. So Link walks up, and he pulls the Master Sword, a blue light enveloping him. However, a grave mistake has been made. As soon as he lifted the Master Sword, the door to the Sacred Realm opened. This was what Ganondorf was waiting for. Ganondorf appears and thanks Link for opening the door, basically calling him a fool and saying that everything you did was pointless. So with Ganondorf gaining access to the Sacred Realm, well, that's where the Triforce is. And the Triforce can grant any wish. Any one wish that the heart truly desires. In this case, Ganondorf's true wish being, well, darkness and power. The ability to rule over the land. But, all that being said, all is not over. Link is placed into a 7-year sleep. He awakens. He's older now. He's bigger now. He's wearing white pants underneath his green tunic. It's quite a development. He now has the Master Sword. He awakens to the sage Rauru, who informs him that 7 years have passed. The land is covered in darkness now, and Link must rescue the sages. The sages are beings who basically have the keys to the Sacred Realm and can do more stuff. This is like the most generic way to put it. But they are, they're mystical ones. But they're in trouble. Ganondorf has found ways to stop them from realizing they're sages, or from doing their duty, or kill them. So, with Rauru giving a long explanation for everything, he gives Link the Medallion of Light. With this one medallion, the sage's power is added to Link's, and he sets out on a new adventure. He must rescue all the sages, the forest sage, the fire sage, the water sage, the Spirit Sage, and the Shadow Sage. I don't know why I said all that. I guess I could just said the elements themselves and not sage at the end, but I like saying sage. It's a cool word. Before he can rescue the Forest Sage, though, he's stopped by Sheik, a Sheikah, which I think I should mention. The Sheikah, they're pretty much extinct, with the only one really being Impa, and apparently now this Sheik person. The Sheik person is very mysterious. They appear out of nowhere and tell Link, Zelda's pretty much been taken away, and there's darkness, and you need to stop it using the Master Sword, and that you need to rescue the She, being Sheik, pretty much reiterates what Rauru was saying, but in a better way, and is all mystical about it. And Link will meet up with Sheik along the way as well, much like what he did with Gabora, which I didn't mention the other encounters because there's not much of a point to it. But there's more point for meeting Sheik, so I'll go over those events a little bit better. So Link is wary of Sheik, but he carries on anyway because he kind of has to, because the land's kind of in danger. So he sets off to Kakariko Village to retrieve an item that will grant him access to the Forest Temple. He gets an item called a hookshot, and he heads back into Kokiri Woods, which he learns that it's been overrun by monsters. Ever since the 7 years have passed, things have gotten a bit more dangerous. The Kokiri are no longer outside roaming around, they're inside their houses. And the Kokiri are like children. They don't grow up. And they're very defenseless as far as, combat goes. So they can't really live a life anymore. They have to survive, getting away from the monsters that are inside their very own home. And since the Decatri is no longer alive, that allowed access for darkness to invade. And the Kokiri forest was being guarded by him, being protected by him. And as soon as his essence faded, things got worse. So with all that, Link heads into the Lost Woods to go to the Forest Temple, which is inside the Sacred Grove. It's past the Lost Woods, the very same spot that Saria mentioned that would be very important for them. When he arrives at the Sacred Grove, he meets Sheik again. Sheik telling him that this spot is so important that you might need to come back here again, and teaches him a melody. The Minuet of Forest, I believe it's called, which allows him to warp to that very spot if he ever needs to again. And Sheik leaves. So using the hookshot and the newly learned information from Sheik, Link heads inside the Forest Temple to conquer 4 Poe sisters and save the darkness that is invading Saria, which she went inside the Forest Temple, as it turns out, because she heard the spirits, or rather the lack thereof. Her communication with the spirits inside the Forest Temple were being cut off. That's why she went in there. When Link finally arrives at the end of the Forest Temple, after defeating the 4 Poe sisters that are beings of hatred and anger, malice, he meets Ganondorf. Or rather, a phantom of Ganondorf. He meets Phantom Ganon. Phantom Ganon is the first real test that Link must deal with, which this fight will prepare Link for the final fight that he has with Ganondorf. Though he doesn't know it, it is very important for him. It's kind of a test. A test of his new body, of his new abilities, his new weapons, all that. So when Link finally defeats Phantom Ganon, we hear Ganondorf's voice and saying that this puppet was worthless and he's banishing it. And he basically says that Link got lucky in defeating it. Link is constantly undermined by Ganondorf. Ganondorf's always just underestimating what Link can do, even calling his victories a fluke or luck. But the Forest Temple is no longer invaded by the darkness. He saves Saria, and with that, in the Sacred Realm, which is where all the sages go, Saria gives Link the Forest Medallion, adding her power to his. Link sets out to the Fire Temple this time, where he needs something special. You see, the entrance to the Fire Temple is to Goron City. When he gets to Goron City, the place is pretty much evacuated. It's very empty, with only really one Goron rolling around. Turns out this Goron is also named Link. He was named Link by his father, Darunia, because Link was a legendary Dodongo Buster. He was a hero to the Gorons. So it was kind of a tribute. But in any case, Link has to talk to Link. Oh, that's a very odd sentence. He has to talk to himself. No, that's not right. Well, you get the idea. Link talks to Link and learns that the Gorons had been taken prisoner in the Fire Temple, which has many jail cells, and it's kind of a place where you await execution, I guess. Very strange place, but with the information that the Gorons are being held there and that Ganondorf resurrected a long-since dead deity of theirs, Volvagia, who is a fierce deity, not really one of peace. Basically, Volvagia could eat Gorons. It's a giant dragon. So, Link has to defeat a dragon now. All the challenges he must go through keep getting worse and worse, bigger and better, more dangerous. And that's the way that it goes. So, Link heads into the Fire Temple through the Goron City, which he got a special tunic from Link called the Goron Tunic. A red tunic that can withstand even the most fearsome of heat. So it's going to be very important for his quest. The Fire Temple is hot. There is a lot of lava, there's a lot of fire, and yeah, Death Mountain Crater's pretty hot too, which is the path that leads right before the Fire Temple. There's a lot of areas that have fire and heat. But it's a good thing Link got the Goron Tunic. Otherwise he'd be dead. He'd be a burned crisp. So proceeding to the Fire Temple, he sees Darunia in one of the first rooms he goes to, and Darunia is like, "Oh, Link, is that you? You've grown up so much. Also, by the way, I gotta fight Volvagia. See what you can do and see if you can rescue the Gorons." So, Link's new quest is to rescue the Gorons into the Fire Temple. So he does. He even gets a special hammer along the way. The Megaton Hammer, which is said to be the very weapon that defeated Volvagia years ago. So, yeah, what's Darunia gonna do when he gets to Volvagia without his hammer? He's gonna die. Yeah, he just dies. I mean, what's he gonna do? He's just buying time for Link, pretty much. So Link does what he must do. He goes to the boss of the Fire Temple, Volvagia, the giant fire-breathing dragon, and he defeats him. I'm kind of underselling the fight, but trust me, it's a really cool fight. It's probably one of the best ones in the game. But Link, utilizing the Megaton Hammer, smashes Volvagia's head in, and he dies. Effectively saving Darunia from, well, double death? I mean, it's implied that he dies a first time, but his sage spirit essence is still fine, so in the Sacred Realm, Darunia's like, "Oh hey, thanks for saving me and my kind. Here's the fire medallion. Now get going and save the rest." And with that, Darunia adds his power to Link's. Link heads out to the Water Temple this time. Which the Water Temple, it's kind of odd as to where it is. It's beside a laboratory that's in the Lake Hylia, which isn't really a place that Link ever really went to very much in his younger years. He's just kind of now going there. So he must find that, but before he can even get to the Water Temple, it turns out he needs iron boots. The Water Temple is submerged in the water. I mean, it wouldn't be submerged in lava now, would it? That wouldn't make any sense. So, at the Zora Fountain, behind it, there is a special cavern called the Ice Cavern, where he learns, yeah, it looks like the thing I need is in here. When he gets to the end of the Ice Cavern, he meets Sheik again. And Sheik tells him that, the Zora Fountain has been frozen over. Not just that, but it was frozen over because of Ganondorf. Everything is because of Ganondorf. I mean, it all makes sense, doesn't it? And, yeah, she teaches him a melody that lets him warp to Lake Hylia. And, I failed to mention there was a point where Link met Sheik earlier, in the Death Mountain crater. But basically, she teaches him a song for that. Most of the encounters that Link has with Sheik are just him meeting her, and it's like she tells him about the current event, and she tells him, here's a song, now learn it so you can teleport. That's basically most of the encounters. That's why I kind of skipped it. It's not really all that important. But the pretty much next to last encounter and last encounter are the most important ones. Anyways, skipping right back to where we were. So Link learns a song, he gets his iron boots, which allows him to sink underwater, and with blue flame he acquired in the ice cavern, he unthaws or unfreezes? I don't know. He unfreezes King Zora with blue flame. Yeah, a lot of things happen. Zora's fountain was frozen over, and so were some of the Zoras. But, in King Zora's thanks, he's like, hey, since you saved me, why don't you have this tunic? Which is the Zora tunic. A blue tunic that allows Link to permanently breathe underwater, as long as he's wearing it. So, that paired with iron boots, even though he may sink to the bottom of a lake, or an ocean, or whatever have you, he can still breathe. It's pretty cool. So Link heads to the water temple when he finally gets there, sinking to the bottom of Lake Hylia and having to raise and lower water levels inside the very temple itself. He meets up with Princess Ruto, who is also older, and she's like, oh hey, you have grown older. And, I mean, I guess we can't really be together now since we kind of have our own quests to do and stuff like that. She learns she's a sage, so yeah, it looks like love has to wait. Or at least love on her side. It's never really implied that Link ever actually had any feelings for Princess Ruto, but oh well. So going through the water temple, he defeats this watery beast. I don't even, I can't remember what it's called. It's so unimportant and so lackluster. Morpha. It's called Morpha. Hey, there we go. I remember names. So he defeats a water thing called Morpha. Is basically a brain inside of water. I mean, that's all what Morpha is. Just a brain inside water. Defeating Morpha, he saves Princess Ruto. And she's like, well, it does suck that we can't be together, but at least I can help you on your quest. So here, take the water medallion. And with that, she adds his power to his. And this is a thing that happens throughout all the game. When you get the medallions, it mentions how the sage, blah, 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 adds their power to yours. That's why I keep saying all the time at the end. It's kind of driving home, yeah, you have the help of the sages now. As you save them, you will have their help in defeating Ganondorf. So, yeah, it needs to be reinforced. It could be easy to lose hope and like, oh, I don't have any help. Nope, you do. So, what now? What happens to Link now? What else does he have? The Spirit Temple and the Shadow Temple. Well, I guess he should get some answers from Sheik in Kakariko Village. Which, as it turns out, Kakariko Village is on fire. Isn't that great? So, the reason for the fire, aside from it being Ganondorf, is from a creature, a shadowy creature, called Bongo Bongo. He lays waste to Kakariko Village, and he even takes out Sheik at the same time. She's not dead, but she is knocked out. Link tries his best to stop the enemy, but in his current state, it can't work. So Link gets knocked out too. He then awakens to Sheik saying, there's not much really we can do, except for, you should probably go to the Shadow Temple and save this Shadow Sage, as well as stopping the beast that started all this whole mess in Kakariko Village. So, learning a new song, he teleports to the Shadow Temple, opens up the entrance, and goes through. Now, the Shadow Temple is very interesting. It's like a giant morgue. It's constantly said in that temple that Here lies Hyrule's bloody history of greed and hatred. And stuff like that's kind of repeated throughout, even with the architecture kind of speaking about how bleak everything is, which is pretty cool. But I imagine Link wouldn't like it very much. There's a lot of death and death traps that are awaiting him. Like guillotines, and then there's Stalfos, which are giant skeletal enemies wielding swords and shields. Spiders, because spiders are spooky. And Redeads, Gibdos, it's all sorts of fun. But Link makes his way through the Shadow Temple using a special item he got called the Lens of Truth, which allows him to see things that are invisible. So, turns out Bongo Bongo is visible with that Lens of Truth, which makes Link's time a whole lot easier as he takes out Bongo Bongo, shooting arrows at Bongo Bongo's hands and eye and slashing at him, which finally leads to him saving the Shadow Sage Impa? Impa's a sage? I guess it makes sense. It's kind of implied that Impa died trying to defend Kakariko Village and trying to stop Bongo Bongo. But in any case, Impa's proud of Link for becoming the man he is and for growing up so much. And she says, be sure to save this land, and also gives him the Shadow Medallion, which adds her power to his. So with that, he has one more thing to do before he can stop Ganon. He must go to the Spirit Temple, which is located in, well, not in, but past the Gerudo Valley. Now, the Gerudo Valley is patrolled by a bunch of Gerudo, which the Gerudo are all female except for one. Turns out, the one Gerudo that's not female is Ganondorf. Now, the thing about that is, there's a prophecy that states every 100 years a male Gerudo king will be born. And that king is, of course, Ganondorf. So, yeah, everything just stems from him, as I've already said. It's no good. But Link must make his way through. Ain't easy, though. They keep stopping him, they keep throwing him in jail. They don't really do anything else, though. So he hookshots out of there. He saves 4 Carpenters that have been locked up as well, which, looks like they got a little too greedy trying to get in as well. But it's fine. So he saves the 4 Carpenters, and this other Gerudo walks in to talk to him. It's like, hey, it's really impressive how you snuck in here and pretty much stole from a group of thieves. Yeah, the Gerudos are all thieves. Well, that's what they're known for, at the very least. So, with that respect and honor, they grant him access through Gerudo Valley and through their home territory without any fuss. So yeah, it makes things easier for getting to the Spirit Temple. So, he must traverse the Spirit Temple now. But how does he get there? Through a haunted valley. Or haunted wasteland. Either one. It's just a desert that you can get lost in easily unless you have a ghost guide. Which turns out Link can find one using his Lens of Truth. So, using the ghost guide, Link goes all the way to the Desert Colossus, which is where the Spirit Temple is. So, he walks inside, and he realizes he can't really do anything in there yet. As he is, he can't do anything. So that's great. So he walks out of the Spirit Temple, wondering what he should do. He is then met up by Sheik, who tells him that he's going to need to utilize the Master Sword in a very specific way. As it turns out, the pedestal of time that made him 7 years older can bring him back to being a child. So, yeah. She teaches him a song about how to get there again, and Link goes back to the pedestal of time to lay down the Master Sword and regain his youthfulness. I would say he's already young at being 17 years old, but still, he becomes a child again, and he warps right on back to the Spirit Temple. Now, the Spirit Temple, when he's a kid, has Noburu. Now, Noburu is a Gerudo chief of sorts. She's like next in command, kind of right to Ganondorf, but she's not a bad guy necessarily. She's a thief, but she's not really all that much of a big deal as far as, you get my idea. So she tells him, hey, I don't know how you got in here, but maybe I could use your help. Need you to crawl through this hole so you can, like, grab a treasure for me so I can stop Ganondorf. And, of course, Link complies. What else is he gonna do? He needs to traverse the Spirit Temple anyway. Might as well do it like this so he can make some progress. So he traverses through his own little portion of the Spirit Temple, and he walks outside to get the Silver Gauntlets, which, when worn, can move things that are really, really heavy. But as soon as he walks out, something bad happens. These two witches, Kome and Kotake, they capture Nabooru. They use dark magic on her to suck her inside a wormhole of sorts. It's not really a wormhole, but it's like a dark portal. And, yeah, she's gone now. So, Link can't get the Silver Gauntlets to her, which means that he must, come back as an adult to do more things that Nabooru is gonna do. And, yeah, he must save her now. So he comes back to the Spirit Temple as an adult, 7 years later. This time with the Silver Gauntlets equipped. He moves through the tricky temple, gets a mirror shield along the way, which can allow him to reflect light and very special magic powers. And he meets Kome and Kotake. Turns out they brainwashed Nabooru into fighting Link earlier, but Link saved her anyway. The brainwashing didn't work all the way, and so Kome and Kotake's plan didn't work. So Kome and Kotake, you're like, well, I guess we gotta kill you now since you messed up our plans already. So Link fights Killer Grannies. They end up fusing together to become Twin Rova, which is just a bigger witch, I guess. Anyways, beats her, kills her, I guess, technically. Kills them, and saves Nabooru from being completely turned against Link and the whole world, I suppose. Nabooru gives him the Spirit Medallion and adds her power to his. So all that's left now is to fight Ganondorf. Link heads back to Hyrule Castle Town, where the whole place has been decimated. There are re-deads walking everywhere. The whole place is unsafe. But he's gotta get through it anyway. So, where Hyrule Castle used to be is now Ganon's Tower, or Ganon's Castle, or whatever you want to call it. Where, in order to get to his castle itself, you'd need to be able to fly. There is a giant gap separating the ground where Link is and the hovering platform where Ganon's tower is. But the sages use their power to construct a bridge. It's a rainbowy bridge. It's kind of like Rainbow Road from Mario Kart, but not racing. So Link walks on this newly constructed bridge and walks into the massive tower. He is greeted by enemies, of course. Non-living enemies. They are just automated machines, pretty much. He blows them up and goes further in, only to find out that there is a barrier protecting Ganondorf from anything else. So Link now has to take down a barrier. He goes through all these rooms that are reminiscent of the temples he has already gone through, and allows the sages to shut down the barrier. It's kind of like a machine. You need to flip 6 switches in order to separate the barrier from Ganondorf's room. So, doing all that, Link walks right to where Ganondorf is. It's a long upward spiral staircase, but I mean, nothing too important there. So he does, and he meets Ganondorf, and it turns out, Zelda's been captured by Ganondorf, which, an important plot point that might have been left behind is, well, turns out Sheik is Zelda. At a time that happened right before he left to go to Ganondorf's castle, he met Sheik inside the Temple of Time. And she reveals, hey, Zelda is fine. I'm Zelda. And gives Link light arrows. So with that in mind, Link now has to fight Ganondorf with light arrows, and this huge battle commences. In the first phase, Ganondorf is flying around shooting energy at Link, and Link has to hit it back with his sword, shoot Ganondorf with light arrows, and attack him again. So when Ganondorf's plan fails, when he's defeated by Link, in his frustration and anger, he brings down the whole tower upon Zelda and Link. It's pretty much crumbling upon itself. So Zelda and Link must now escape Ganondorf's tower, which, I mean, it's falling apart, so there's debris falling everywhere, and they have to avoid all of that. And there's locked doors, which Zelda has opened with her magic. It's very strenuous, but they make it through. But they're not done yet. When they leave the tower, they hear this noise. This noise that happens after the tower's already collapsed upon itself. It's already done falling, but they hear this thud. And Link turns around to see what the commotion is. So he walks up to where the pile of rubble is, and Ganondorf bursts out. He's breathing heavily. He looks very, very angry. Holding his hand up with the Triforce of Power resonating, he transforms into Ganon, a dark beast with 2 giant swords, and Ganon is huge. He towers over Link easily. It'd take like 2.5 Links in order to match up to the height of Ganon. So yeah, Ganon is kind of a big dude. Anyways, Ganon knocks the Master Sword, right out of Link's hands. That's not good. So Link has to retrieve the Master Sword before he can actually kill Ganon. When he finally delivers the final blow to Ganon, well, that's it. Zelda uses this barrier and tells the sages, do it now! Pretty much saying, go ahead and take care of Ganon now. So Rauru telling the sages to seal Ganon to the the Dark Realm. They do so. Ganon is now sealed up, he's very angry, and he promises that he will wipe out Link and his descendants forevermore as soon as he gets out. And after that, Link is met by Zelda. Zelda tells him it's time for him to return to his own time, to relive his own life, for him to live his own memories that he doesn't have. For him to live as a child, to experience what he couldn't before, to live a real life that is not burdened by heroism. It's the ultimate gift that Zelda could have given to him. So she puts him back in time, to the past. I guess you could say a link to the past. Clever nod to a game. And with that, that's it. That's basically the story of Ocarina of Time. Now, there are a lot of things that I kind of gleamed over, I kind of skipped, I kind of got a little out of order. But that, for the most part, is the whole journey of Ocarina of Time. And the story, while maybe not as impressive nowadays, it's still really good. Like, from what I have learned, even if you told the story like I did, or you told it exactly in all the order, you still couldn't get the feeling that you would get if you actually played the game and experienced the story for yourself. The story is really impressive when you are experiencing it yourself. And I think that's kind of the problem with looking back on this game, is that telling the story isn't as impressive. So it doesn't come off as good. And, I decided to do something different for this review. I don't like how I had to script Breath of the Wild's review. It didn't feel as from the heart, I guess. Whereas Ocarina of Time means way more to me. It's my favorite Zelda game. And I haven't even gone to combat or collectibles or music, which I do intend on going into. But I want to take a break here. Ocarina of Time means a whole lot to me. And I don't think I could get out exactly what I want to say in a script, which is very unusual. You think with a script, You'd have all the time in the world you need to put out what you want to say. But sometimes you just need to speak from the heart about something you really love. Ocarina of Time's like a kid brother to me, so I want to treat it the way that it should be handled. So, yeah, let's get on with the combat, shall we? Let's have some fun with this. I feel I can cut loose now with a sword. So, combat. What's it all about? How has it changed from 2D Zelda games to 3D? A lot. Ocarina of Time introduces L targeting, which allows you to target onto an enemy and to focus on them. It allows you to move around a 3D space without, missing your enemies all the time. You can swing your sword up and down, left and right. You can do a spin attack, you can do a jump attack. You can hold up your shield, and you can stab. Now, in comparison to Breath of the Wild, you'll notice that there aren't as many things you can do as far as combat goes. But even in Ocarina of Time, the combat is still really, really solid. It has been refined over time from Majora's Mask, The Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Breath of the Wild. But Ocarina of Time had such a good start and a good grasp of what combat was supposed to be in a 3D game. Especially a 3D Zelda game. So yes, combat is really good. It's kind of puzzle-esque. You have to kind of figure out what your enemy is going to do before you can attack most of the time. But it's kind of the fun about it. You have to think more now. It's not just mindlessly swiping at an enemy in A Link to the Past, or in Link's Awakening, or even in Zelda 1. Now you have to think about what you're going to do. Do you want to jump slash your enemy? Do you want to risk a thrust and, miss? Or maybe get shielded so you get attacked instead? Do you want to risk it? It's just that. It's like you kind of got to think about what you're going to do. That's what makes the combat so good. It's not as mindless as it used to be. It was such a huge step up from the 2D Zelda games to 3D. The step up was huge. You thought about everything you did. It was like you were actually in a fight this time. So yeah. And you have different ways to attack. You have items, your hammer, you have a spell you can use that creates a wall of flame around you that expands. You can change between the Master Sword and a bigger sword called the Bigoron Sword, which is a two-handed sword. You can't use your shield, but you don't need it. The Bigoron Sword is so powerful. It delivers such a hefty blow. Like it does, I think, 2 times more damage than the Master Sword does. Maybe 4 times. Something like that. It's something really crazy. The combat feels good. And when you get more items, it feels better. Like the Bigoron Sword, it feels the best. So, combat may be simplistic, but it still feels good. And it's, it hasn't aged badly at all. It's aged pretty well, really. And especially with a 3D remake that happened in 2011 or 2012, they made it feel even better. It's like buttery smooth. So, yeah, that's combat. Not really too much to say. You can use your arrows in battle as well. There's a whole lot of things you can do in battle that change up the flow of the combat itself. But mostly you'll be using your sword, your shield, and your bow. So... Okay, so what's next on the agenda? How about let's talk about that music, yo? The music. Oh boy. So, in stark comparison to Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time's music is there. It's all there. There are so many tracks, so many memorable pieces of music. Kakariko Village, Lon Lon Ranch, Kokiri Forest or Woods, whatever you want to call it. I keep forgetting it by its real name, but you get the point. Goodness, even the Forest Temple. There are so many pieces of music that are so memorable. It's crazy. And, some of them are, remixed themes from older Zelda games. Like, Zelda's Lullaby came out from A Link to the Past, but it got its upgraded sound in Ocarina of Time. It's been a mainstay. Ocarina of Time took previously existing pieces of music and also created new ones, and create this whole new experience. The music itself would sometimes make you feel uneasy, or make you feel really happy, or kind of light, or kind of somber. The music expressed so much emotion, which just added to the architecture of temples, of dungeons, to the towns that you were in. Like in Hyrule Castle Town, it's a bustling marketplace. And the music that plays in the marketplace kind of reflects how busy it is there. It goes hand in hand with its environment. And that's so cool. There's so much good stuff about the music that I really can't describe to do it justice. It's kind of sad, but it's true. You just gotta listen to it for yourself. I'll include a playlist to Ocarina of Time's OST if you want to listen to it. Trust me, it's really good. You need to listen to it. And play the game too while you're at it. I mean, just play the freaking game. It's a good game. Just play it. It's on plenty of platforms, so you have no reason to not play it. So, we covered the story, combat, the music. Let's go with collectibles. Let's see how well my memory is. We have quite a few collectibles to go through. Not as many as Breath of the Wild, technically. But let's see what happens. So, you can get up to a total of 3 tunics. The Goron tunic, the Zora tunic, and the Kokiri tunic. Which Kokiri tunic you start out with? It's the green one. There are 4 different types of swords you can get, but 3 are mainstays. The Kokiri sword, which is the first sword you get as a kid. It's the only sword you get as a kid. Then you get the Master Sword. You can get the Giant's Knife. And you can get the Bigoron sword. Now, the Giant's Knife did something new for the series that we wouldn't really see much of until Breath of the Wild. Breakable weapons. The Giant's Knife was, I think you use it a total like 3 or 4 or 5 different times. It wasn't many. Like it may even be 10. But it would break after a certain amount of time, and you have to get it repaired. Or you could just go through a long side quest and get the Bigoron sword, which is permanent. So, yeah, it won up Breath of the Wild before Breath of the Wild was even a thing. So take that with you and your breakable weapons that can't be repaired, and you can't get permanent weapons. Yes, this review is also a bashing. Isn't that great? Can't get these... you can't get rid of these opinionized opinions. Yes, opinionized opinions. I'm making that a thing. So, take that and put it in your dictionary. You're gonna need it. Right, collectibles. So after the tunics and swords, we have shields. You get the Deku shield, which is the wind shield you get. It's the first one. You get the Hylian shield, and you get the mirror shield. Yeah, there's not too much as far as that goes. There are boots. You get your Kokiri boots. You get your iron boots and your hover boots, which I didn't really mention in the story because it's not story-centric. It's there. You need it to cross a desert and to do a few things as far as platforming goes, but yeah, that's it. So boots. Your main collectibles are swords, shields, boots, and tunics. You can also get the Goron bracelet, the silver gauntlets, and the gold gauntlets, each allowing you to increase in strength as far as lifting and throwing. Well, specific items, I should say. You can't really throw boxes or rocks any farther, but it's all context sensitive. You can get quivers. There's a total of 3 quivers, a total of 2 or 3 bomb bags. Let me think. I think there's 2 bomb bags. Either way, yeah. No, there's 3. There's 3. 3 bomb bags. There are 2 bullet bag seeds. 2 bullet bags, for seeds for your fairy slingshot, which you get as a kid. You have your scales, which are silver scale and golden scale, which allow you to dive underwater longer. There are upgrades to the amount of Deku seeds you can carry, and not Deku seeds, Deku nuts and Deku sticks. Both of those get upgraded once, maybe twice. I'm trying to think. Yeah, you can upgrade the Deku sticks twice, I believe. And I think the Deku nuts only get upgraded once. There are 3 different types of arrows. You get 4 actually, if you count the standard. The standard, the fire, the ice, and the light arrows. There are 4 bottles in the game. There are technically 8 masks in the game, but you can carry 1 at a time. And getting them is fairly easy. I mean, you don't keep them either, except for 1 at a time, which I just... Yeah, the collectibles are kind of strange. I mean, there's quite a bit to go through, though. And then there's probably the most infamous of them all, the gold Skulltula tokens, which go along right alongside the heart pieces. But we'll get to those in time. So gold Skulltula tokens, what are those? Well, when you kill a gold Skulltula, they leave behind a token. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. And there are 100 of these things. So yeah, have fun hunting down 100 gold Skulltulas. Especially if you played this game many times. It's like collecting 900 gold Skulltula tokens. But anyways, 100 of those. And they each grant their own rewards. You can get up to like 3 different wallets. I mean, you get like both upgradable wallets from getting the gold Skulltula tokens. So, there's a lot to go through with that. And then you have the heart pieces, which if you collect 4 of those at a time, you'll get a new heart container, which allows you to get a total of 20 heart containers in the game. And there's music you can learn. I think there's, let me think, maybe 16 tracks you can learn. Maybe 12. It's either 12 or 18. I have to look again. But I'm sorry, I didn't... I like I said, I wanted this review from my own experience. I don't really want to look up anything. And, that's the thing. It's kind of a testament to my experience. I've 100% completed this game many times. It's just been a while since I looked at it last. Because I kind of had to take a break after Master Quest and everything kind of put me off. So yes, collectibles. There's a lot. That's all there is. It's a big game, though. It's a big game. It has good bit of content. There's a bunch of side quests you can do, which lead to heart containers, and heart pieces, bottles, stuff like that. Even the Bigoron sword. So yeah. I guess that ends all the technical standpoints that I wanted to hit. And now we can go right into my opinion section, which is probably the section I want to do the most, because it's where I can speak the most about it. So Ocarina of Time is my favorite Zelda game. It's my favorite game of all time, actually. If you put like 2 games in front of me, if you said I had to play either Ocarina of Time on the N64 or I had to play Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch, and I had to play one, which one would I pick? Ocarina of Time immediately. Like, there's no contest. I would pick it immediately. I have played it so many times. So many times. I've done 2 different playthroughs of it. I even had a friend play it as well as part of recording. I've done Ocarina of Time so much, and I love it so much. It's my favorite. It's what I grew up with. When I was like in 1st or 2nd grade, I remember like borrowing it from the video game rental store. And it was my first experience into Zelda games. And what an experience. It's when I have like the heaviest set of nostalgia for. And a lot of things I see about is like, oh, nostalgia makes you blind, and it's like, it doesn't actually mean the game is good. Fair enough point, I suppose. But what's wrong with having nostalgia? It just makes something better. If it makes you nostalgic, most of the time it's gonna be for a good reason. Like, some people criticize how, like, Sonic games are nostalgic, they're not good. Same thing for other games and other franchises. But, I mean, that doesn't matter. This isn't a factual review saying, oh, it is the best game for this reason and it's completely unbiased. No. There are plenty of people who think, like, The Wind Waker's better, or Majora's Mask is better, or A Link to the Past, or Breath of the Wild, which those people are weird. Don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. But, I mean, what's wrong with that? But mostly, it's what Ocarina of Time is that makes it so good for me. Not only is it nostalgic, but it's just fundamentally good and fun. It's a fun game to play. Especially on the 3DS. Like, that's the best version you can play. If you're gonna play Ocarina of Time, please do yourself a favor and get a 3DS and play it on that. Or a 2DS, just please play the updated version if you're gonna play it. As for me, I'll play either version. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll lovingly play the 64 version, and I'll happily play the 3DS version. And Ocarina of Time's been released so much. It's been released on the 64, on the GameCube, on the Wii, the Wii U, the 3DS. I mean, it's been out on a lot of systems. And ported over, like, on the same system a few times. Like, it's on the GameCube twice, technically. So, there's just so much. So much Ocarina of Time. And I don't think I could do this game justice as far as reviewing it. But this is its 20th birthday. It deserves something special, and even if I can't give it that, I still want to give my all in this. Because Ocarina of Time means so much to me. It got me through quite a few times, quite a few rough patches, which happened more recently. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like my favorite game to play. And I had no idea what I was doing. I may or may not have mentioned this before in a playthrough of mine. But when I was a kid, and my parents rented the game for me. Inside the Great Deku Tree, which is probably one of the easiest Zelda dungeons to date. It's like, I think I can clear it in like 15 minutes or maybe a little bit less. I'm not a speed runner, obviously. But I mean, it's such an easy dungeon. But as a kid, I was a really stupid kid at the time. I could not for the life of me figure out how to get past a web by using fire. Like, I just couldn't. I couldn't get past the Great Deku Tree. I was a very stupid kid. But even so, I did not let that ruin my experience and the fun I had while playing the game. I remember when I was a kid, I loved just pulling out the sword and swinging it around. Like, just such a simple thing. I had so much fun doing. It was fun moving Link in a 3D environment in Kokiri Woods. It was such a fun place to be. It was light, it was green, and I love green. Green's my favorite color. There is so much that I love about the game. I mean, I went about the music. The music is so good. I love the music. I have tracks that I fall asleep to at night. I fall asleep to the Water Temple theme now. It is so soothing and kind of creepy in a slight way. But the music, it makes me feel specific ways. Like, it just does wonders to my mentality. Like, I can't. It's just so good. I love Ocarina of Time so much. Even if I can't give very good defenses for it on like why it's so good to me, that doesn't matter. Because to me, I know why I love Ocarina of Time. Why it's my favorite Zelda game. It's just, there is so much that I love about it. And I could talk about this game for hours. I mean, I'm already at an hour and 17 minutes. I've already passed my review for Breath of the Wild. And by all accounts, Breath of the Wild is a bigger game. Like, there is zero doubt that it's a bigger game. I mean, it's fact. There is more to collect. There's more to do. But it doesn't have that special something that Ocarina of Time does. Ocarina of Time feels like it had love poured right into it. It was made for people who were hungry for a 3D Zelda game. And boy, did they get that. They got a really good 3D Zelda game. And people were like, oh, it hasn't aged well. It looks really bad now. Okay, yeah, that's kind of a fault of 3D polygonal models. But I do not see it as ugly, alright? It does look old, yes. But it doesn't look bad to me. Whenever I see Ocarina of Time, I smile. Like, I've watched so many Let's Plays of Ocarina of Time recently. Why? Because I love Ocarina of Time. I love seeing it be played. I want to see people play it who have no idea what the game is. Like, I want to see people who play it who are new to it. I want to see experienced players play it. I want to see speedruns of it. I consume Ocarina of Time. I mean, I have it displayed in my room quite a bit. If I had to take an amiibo and, like, leave all the others behind for the rest of my life, I'd take the Ocarina of Time Zelda amiibo. Why? Because I'm a nostalgic fool who loves Ocarina of Time. And there's just so much. I mean, the ability to swap between child and adult timeline links. It's so cool. It's so cool being in two different Hyrules that are still similar, but have their own differences. The temples are fun to figure out. Except for maybe the Water Temple, but I've kind of eased up on that in more recent years. I still don't like it, but it's not as bad as it used to be for me. Yeah. Even the water temple, I wouldn't take a single dungeon or temple out of the game. If anything, I'd like, hey, maybe add in more to the ice cavern, because apparently it was supposed to be a full temple, but it kind of got scrapped for reasons. And even like there were so many rumors going around at the time of its release about Ocarina of Time, like apparently you can get the Triforce, or there's a unicorn fountain, or you could beat the Running Man, which the Running Man in the game now you can't beat. You can't beat the time or anything. It's just kind of a left behind scrap feature. But there was just so much revolving around Ocarina of Time. And even as far as like the future goes, when there was a tech demo, I think it came out around the year 2000, something like that. It was this video of adult Link fighting Ganondorf with updated 3D models, and people went bonkers. They're like, we're getting a realistic Zelda game again as a sequel to Ocarina of Time. Like, whoa. I mean, we didn't. We got the Wind Waker. Which, I mean, technically it was Majora's Mask, but whatever. Anyway. I'm just saying that there was for a long time a time where people really regarded Ocarina of Time as one of, like, it's the pinnacle of gaming. It's not now. And, you know, if that was the pinnacle of gaming, I'm being honest, that'd be a little disappointing. Because, I mean, obviously improvements need to be made. But I kind of still long for the days where people didn't completely, like, bash on Ocarina of Time or say it's not actually as good as people say it is. And a lot of times, I get the feeling that they're just trying to say that just to be cool. It doesn't come off as cool. It makes you come off as really, what's the word I'm looking for? Snotty. Yeah, you're like Princess Ruta when she was a kid. You're just saying things that tick people off. And I mean, I get that people have genuine opinions that, you know, Ocarina of Time really isn't as good as people say it is. I get that. I mean, I'm the same way with Breath of the Wild. I do not like it as a Zelda game. It's okay as a regular game goes, but it is not a masterpiece. And I've said this before. I'm not going to touch on it anymore, though. Breath of the Wild's in the past. I want to leave with Ocarina of Time. It kind of crafted my childhood. It crafted my channel. I started my channel because I wanted to have recorded footage of me clearing a 3 hearts minimalist run of Ocarina of Time, just as proof that I could do it. And it kind of shaped itself into something bigger. I don't have that many subscribers right now, but that isn't the point. I'm fine with that. Ocarina of Time made me want to expand and do more with my channel than just Ocarina of Time and leave it at that. That's what it did. It did so much for me. And it's crazy to think that it's 20 years old now. 20 years ago. November 23rd, 1998, North America received one of the best games of all time. And a lot of people saw that. A lot of people were happy about it. I don't know. I'm not really sure how I want to end this. I kind of don't want to end this, but I mean, I don't have too much more to say now. I think I've covered my opinions on Ocarina of Time. And it's kind of funny because my reviews aren't really reviews. They're more like just like factual factual coverings of the game itself with my own opinion interjected at the end. So I'm not really sure what you'd call that. But this is my review of Ocarina of Time. The best Zelda game. The best. You cannot tell me that it isn't. I mean, you can, but I will not listen to you. Because I know what makes it the best for me. Also, Majora's Mask is fine, I guess. Throwing Majora's Mask in there for no reason. I mean, Ocarina of Time kind of inspired to make the Month of Majora. As weird as that is, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it kind of did. It made me want to branch out and do challenge runs, like my True Pain mode for Twilight Princess HD. I also have plans to do a 3 hearts minimalist run of hero mode for the Wind Waker HD, which I guess I'll call it pain mode or true pain. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna call it. That's not really the point. But it's just, it did a lot, and I love it. It's a good game, and I want more people to experience it. You know, and I'm sure there's so many people who have already experienced the game, but there are newer generations who haven't yet. I'm sure, and it it would just be nice if they would all play Ocarina of Time and, I don't know, get a glimpse of what the glory days were for Zelda. Also, I don't want to come off as, oh, Zelda franchise is dying out, it's not as good as it used to be. No, that's not even the case. I mean, as much as I don't like Breath of the Wild, it's doing amazingly well for Nintendo and for the Zelda franchise. Taking it to different places that people didn't think were possible up until a year ago. So, yeah. Just remember, when people are like, oh yeah, Breath of the Wild or whatever its sequel is going to be, is so good, it's the best Zelda game. Don't forget where it came from. Technically, I guess you could say it started at Zelda 1. But the 3D games, they all got their inspiration from Ocarina of Time. So yeah, that's my review for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I guess it's part of Zelda Month too, which is something that Peanut Butter Gamer started. And I guess this is my contribution to it. So, yeah. Happy Zelda Month, everyone. And have a good rest of the day. This is Zelda Maniac 1994, signing out.